All right, are we live? Is this thing on? I'm let's see here. There's two purposes for this live stream. One is to see if I got the delay fixed. So let's see here. Come on. Excuse me a second. All right, are we live? Is this thing on? Hey, it looks like I got it fixed. Cool. I'm okay. That's good. I'm happy. All right. So yeah, the second live for the day. So we got the drawing done earlier. Congratulations, Steve. Like I said, I will send that out. I gotta find a box. I cleaned house and I got rid of my boxes. But I'll get one and I'll get it out to you. So anyway, what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the stash and what that means and what purpose it serves. Right? And I know it's an individual thing, but I'm interested to know what everybody's I'm interested to know why you as an individual have a stash. It appears, and I've had this, most recently had this conversation with Stefan, but I've had this conversation with various people over the years. And there seems to be at least two different types of stashers. And actually, no, I'm going to say three. And I did an article about this on when I was part of the Sprue Cutters Union a few years back, and it's on the ShutterAce.com website. If you go search for stash or mustache or something like that, you'll find the article. And my opinion may have changed. I'm not going to go back and read it, but my ideas do evolve over time as I learn things and get smarter or dumber, whatever. Wiser. That's a better word. Wiser. So you have collectors, right? And these are obviously are my opinion, but you have collectors, and then you have people who are actually just acquiring things that they intend to build, which I think I mainly am. And then you have people that just can't pass up a good deal. And I'm partially that too. Because my intention usually is if I find something that's just a smoking hot deal, I'll buy it and it's like, I can trade that for something that I actually want later. Or I can just give it to somebody, or whatever. I don't typically have a whole lot that's like super valuable in my stash. As most of you could probably guess, there's a lot of older kits in my stash. There's Monogram stuff. There's some old Revell stuff. There's older Tamiya stuff. I don't have a whole lot of the late great stuff, just because I don't know. I'm perfectly fine with the older stuff, even the older Tamiya stuff. I do have some of the newer stuff, but most of my stuff is 2000 at the newest. I don't know. But so my stash basically consists of three things: things I intend to build, gifts, and then things I intend to trade up. How's that? Um, yeah, and and in those things that intend to build, I also have, I guess, what you would call palette cleansers. And my thing has always been, even since I was like in junior high school, I'd get burned out on aircraft because aircraft tend to, well, maybe not anymore, but it used to be that aircraft tended to need the sanding and the filling and sanding and all of that stuff. And when you just wanted something that you could just work on, that was just kind of a brain dead build, you'd grab a Tamiya armor kit, right? I mean, that's what I did. I'd grab like a Panzer III or the LRDG or gosh, I can't even think how many of those, or even some of the Bandai kits. I grabbed some of the Bandai kits, the Italy kits. What am I thinking? That Italy Stug 4 was a favorite of mine. The Italy, what's the other one? Gosh, I can't remember now. The Panzer IV, the Panzer IV-F, and the Pak 40, and then the Russian 76, and then Russian Katalyushu truck. That I would like to get my hands on another one of those. I love that kit. That was one of my favorite kits when I was a kid. Anyway, so yeah, that was, and the elephant, the Italy elephant. That was a great kit. So that was my kind of thing, and it's still the same way with me. Is so I have, I'm gonna say 100 and, let me look. Scale mates to the rescue. Stash kits. All right, according to scale mates, I have 113 kits in my stash. Now, let me tell you, that does not mean, what am I going to say? That does not include things that have been started. And looking back here, I have, all I have in here is 1, 2, 3, that one I got rid of. And what am I doing? There we go. Sorry, I had to fix something. So according to this, I got 1, 2, 3. So I have a B-20 monogram B-29, a Hasegawa 72 F-16, the monogram F-104, the Atlantis / Aurora Hughes DC-9, and the Manus Space Kit and the Vostok, all in process. There's more than that, trust me. I have at least 2 Edward World War I kits, 2 ships, Star Trek, there's 5 more, and the A7, that's 6 more. So I've got well over 10 kits in process. Plus the Coral Sea. Yeah. Then I got one up there I got to fix. So what is that? You know, that puts me up pushing 130 if you include the stuff that's actually in process. So how do you push that out? Okay, I'm going to throw some numbers out here, and I'm not trying to be morbid or anything. I'm just being realistic. Um, I'm going to be 54 here in about 8 weeks. About 6 weeks, actually. So, now you combine that with the fact that most of the guys on the most of the males on my dad's side of the family um, make it to their late 60s. And so I kind of got to use that as my marker, but you never know. You know, so let's just call it 70. So that's 16 years, right? So that's, you know, almost 10 kits a year. And you got to take into account, you know, your last couple of years, you might not be able to see well, whatever. All these other things. So what does that mean, right? I mean, so let's just call it 10 kits a year. So we'll call it 10 kits a year. That's going to take me 12, 13 years. Now, what's the chances of me building 10 kits a year? Well, probably not much. I mean, I got off to a good start this year, but I've already slowed down because now I'm back to work. And there's different things that affect that. You know, if I was building the newer stuff, you know, like that Tamiya FW190 I just finished. If I was building that stuff all the time, I could kick one of those out probably every 2 weeks, even working. I mean, those are they're simple because you don't have major fit issues. So those aren't an issue really, but when it comes to something like, you know, the Monogram F104, I just put another coat of primer on here, and I've still got things to fix, but I'm getting to the point with it where I don't know where I'm going to stop, you know, but I've got where I filled these in on the side and rounded them back out. There's still lines where the filler meets the body that I need to fix. This one is still a little line there where the body seam is, and it's still not smooth. There's some issues here. There's still some issues right here. For the most part, it's pretty good. But my point is, something like this takes time. I've already got way more time into this than I put into that FW190. Way more time into this. That said, this is going to be pretty satisfying when it's done. And that's not saying the other ones aren't. But you get where I'm going with it. If you build things like this, you get where I'm going. If you like the older stuff, you know, it's what we do. This isn't about the build as much as it is. This is a time machine. I mean, I laugh, but truly, this is a time machine. And for you guys, you guys know what I'm talking about. You guys that are my age, you know, 5, 10 years either side of my age, that have been doing this for decades, you understand what I say, what I mean when I'm saying this is a time machine. It's a time machine. It totally is. So, anyway, so the point is, well, not the point, but so where I'm going with this is, what do you do? What's your plans for your stash? You know, if you're somebody who's got 4,000 kits in their garage, really regardless of age, I would say you're a collector or you're a hobby shop owner. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with being a collector. You know, if you have something that's doable, even if it's going to have to be kind of really worked on, you know, I wouldn't put you in a collector category. I'd put you in a, you know, you're a builder, but well, I don't know, no bus, you're a builder. And the thing with builders is our interests change over time, so you end up with stuff that's all you had every intention of building, and then at some point you just lose interest in it. And that happens to all of us, and that's fine. And I don't, like I said before, I don't have anything super valuable, so a lot of times I don't get caught up on trying to sell them or whatever, because, you know, is it worth? I always try and look at things in my life as, okay, is it worth my time? Right? Is this really worth my time? So if I have a kit that I might be able to get $15 for or whatever, or $10 for, or you know, I mean, you have to understand where I'm coming from. Most of the stuff that I have in my stash, I bought secondhand, and I bought it cheap because I'm cheap. I'm frugal. You know, unless it's something that I absolutely had to have, and even then, I have my limits. It's not unusual for me to go to a model contest and spend $100 and walk out of there with 15 to 20 kits. That's I could do that. That's not a problem. Excuse me. Sub $10 kit average is kind of my thing. Unless there's something I really want. But anyway, so how do you build 130? How do you build 10 models a year? I guess that's my question. How do you build 10 models a year? Average. And my plan is to batch them. And this is what Jeff and I were talking about, is because it's really the only way that you can do it. I have, I don't know, 13 or 14 P47 kits still that aren't even open. And I have about 11 or 12 P40 kits. You know, and I have 3 monogram B25s, and I have 2 B24s, and I have 2 B17s. I only have 1 PBY left, but you see where I'm going with all this. So I have all this stuff. And when you batch build, you know, first of all, you have to figure out where your limit is on what you're doing. But the thing with batch building, it's much easier to do it with a modern kit. But, you know, just because they go together so well, and there's not so much cleanup, and you don't, you know, building something like this F104, it gets kind of old after a while. There's a point where the sanding and the filling and the sanding and the filling and the sanding, and you're like, okay, I'm done. But, you know, you could sit down and build. Could you build a half a dozen Tamiya P47s all at the same time? Sure. Because there's no issues there at all. Those things, they just go together, right? I mean, that's not a problem at all. Could you do 3 monogram B25s? Yeah. Would you want to? Maybe. I mean, that B25 kit's not that bad. I haven't built one for a long, long, long time, but I don't remember it being really having any issues with it. Um, so that is going to be the way things go at some point in the future. Is I'm just going to have to start batching aircraft and building a bunch of them at all at once, and that's not really a problem. Um, the other thing is, and this is going to be blasphemous to some people, and maybe even to myself, but um, sometimes you just got to know when to give up and move on. Um, I just threw 2 kits away. They had been sitting on the shelf of doom for quite a long time. Um, I'm not really sure how many kits I've ever thrown away. I can guarantee you it's less than 10 over my lifetime. And it might be less than 5, or right around 5. But at some point, sometimes you just got to call it quits. And what I ended up throwing away, I'll tell you what I threw away and why. So one of them was the old, like original issue Dragon Marine Corps Abrams. And the thing was going together pretty well. I didn't put the interior in it because the hatches were closed. But what happened was when I got to doing the side skirts on it, they wouldn't fit right. And the problem was the door. They got one of the doors on each side. Those sand skirts or whatever that those things are that are in sections. Well, they have one section that's hinged that they allow you to, glue in whatever position you want, and it didn't line up at all. And where the edges come together, it closes like a door. And I mean, it was, like this. I mean, they're supposed to go together like this, like a door jamb, and it's like this. It wasn't even close. And I kind of looked at it. Couldn't figure out the satisfactory way to fix it. Put on the shelf of doom. And I was cleaning stuff out the other day, and I'm like, you know what? This thing's been sitting here for like 5 years. I'm never going to fix it. I bought it for $5. I'm not going to spend the time on it. If I want an Abrams in my collection, I'll go buy a good one. A decent one. Because it's not even really a decent kit. It's not really accurate. Those old Dragon kits were kind of just a combination of different things. And it's like, yeah. So it wasn't, throwing it away wasn't a big problem. The other thing that I threw away was an Academy M10. And the reason I let that go, there's cups. So what happened was, the reason it was on the shelf of doom, when I got it, it apparently had been stored in a hot garage or something, and the upper hull was warped. Well, in the process of trying to unwarp the upper hull, I basically melted it. I got the water too hot, and it just deformed the crap out of it. And there was no way I was going to get it straight at that point, and I deformed some of the edges and stuff. So I set it aside. I'm like, maybe one of these days I'll find somebody with a junk one that they want to get rid of. Well, going along with that, so it's got the full interior. Well, the interior is not really an M10 interior, from what I could tell. It's actually Sherman interior. And even given that, even worse than that is I didn't build the bogies and stuff correctly. I used the wrong wheels, this and that and the other thing. I got to give Academy credit. Me not being an armor expert, I didn't really catch all of this until I'd already done it. But there's like 3 different types of road wheels, and there's 2 different types of return rollers, And they got all the stuff in this kit for so that you can do like M3 style um, suspension versus the later M4 style suspension and the different road wheels and whatnot. So I ended up using some of the wrong stuff when I had started putting it together. And then in order to kind of pass it off as legitimate, I kind of like mixed and matched road wheels and stuff. And I was just going to kind of pass it. I was, well, they changed them. The thing hit a mine or something and they changed all these parts. And anyway, some BS story, right? So, but I never found a hull for it. And it's, I mean, the M10 is one of my favorite vehicles. So, I mean, I was kind of really looking forward to having it done. But I finally, like I said, when I was cleaning out, I'm like, you know what? It's got so many problems that are all self-inflicted. Let's just let it go. So I did. You know, I like I said, I don't make a habit of doing that. I'm trying to think. So there's those two kits. I threw away a Dragon Valentine kit. I think it was a Dragon Valentine tank kit a few years back because the plastic was so brittle. Every time I went to take something off of the tree, sprue, tree, whatever. I always called it a tree, but every time I went to take something off of the sprue, it would break. It was like some kind of hideous resin kit or something. And I had got the suspension on it, got the upper hull on it, and I was doing some, you know, hull details of the turret or something. I don't remember exactly what. And like every single thing I tried to get off of the sprue broke, and I just had it and I tossed it. And that again, that was another one I got for $5. I had ran across a guy that had a bunch of old Dragon armor that he didn't want anymore because he had all the newer stuff, and I had bought I don't know, 5 or 6 kits from him for, you know, $20 or something because he just wanted to get rid of them because they were just in his way. And I think my oldest son built a couple of them, I think. I don't know. I don't remember. Anyway. Oh, one is the MLRS. I sold that. I don't know. Anyway, so, yeah. I don't know where I was going with that. But whatever. So what I'm really interested in is, if you want to drop it down in the comments or whatever, is what is your stash theory, I guess? What is your plan? My plan is to batch build. I imagine Jeff's plan is to batch build with the conversations him and I have had. Because realistically, we're running out of time. And it may seem silly to some people that this is kind of an issue. But, you know, there are things that we want to build. There are, I have 2 1/350th USS Arizona kits. One I've got all the photo etch for. One's just the stock kit. But, you know, that's important to build so that those, and to get cased so that those, because those belong to the families. You know, having a direct, what do I say? Having a family member that's still on the Arizona. That's important for me to get that done, get both of those done, so that so that the family can have them for keepsakes. And I should probably do more than 2. But, you know, one of those with all the photo etch and stuff, that's going to take time. Uh, so anyway, yeah. So as I said, you know, what's your plan? What is your plan, man? That's what we want to know. What is your plan? The man with the plan. Um, you know, it's always funny because I always think, I should go in there and clear some stuff out. And there's really not a whole lot in my stash that I don't have plans for. Almost everything that I have has a purpose in my head. I've gotten rid of most of the stuff that I never had any plans for. So that kind of puts me in a spot. But KH, I'm not sure. I'm kind of thinking of selling anything which is not a nice recent kit and only stick to the good kits. Okay, yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, by good kits, you mean the modern kits that don't have any fit issues and stuff. And I get that. I mean, because it's a time thing. Yeah, and I totally get it. I totally get it. You know, if you don't have all the time in the world to put into something, a shake and bake kit makes life easy. I totally get it. It makes sense. You know, that's what I was talking about earlier. Something like this, you know, this is a time machine. This is something that's going to take a lot of work, but this has a connection for me to something else in my life. But as far as just wanting to build and paint, yeah, I get it. I mean, there's lots of modelers out there that buy kits not based on subject, but based on, you know, how well the fit is and how well it's engineered and how well it goes together. Well, I mean, I guess when I'm saying well, I mean how easily it goes together, how, you know, and that's fine. You know, and there's I guess guys like me that we're subject. We're really interested in subjects and don't really care. Well, I shouldn't say don't care, but we're not as concerned with fit and finish as we are with the subject matter itself, and that's fine too. You know, it's really interesting to me that you know, you see this conversation about the hobby dying. It's a tough question. Like you, I have a plan for many of the kits I have. Right? Yeah, we most of us bought them with a plan, with you know. But I know guys that buy them just for the box art. I mean, they just get hooked on the box art and they gotta have it. And it's like, okay, yeah, I get it. You know, it's all, everybody's got their own thing, and that's fine. That's good. But the state of the hobby, I guess you would say, is, you know, you get. It seems it's interesting to me because you always see. I'm going to say the older crew or the older guys. I guess I'm one of the older guys now, but. You know, they seem to be all upset because, oh, the hobby's dying and this and that and the other thing. The hobby's not dying. They're selling $320 plastic model kits to people. The hobby's not dying. You know, I mean, I'm sorry, but you know, if they can sell 30-second scale single engine fighters for $150 or $130 or whatever all day long, the hobby's not dying. Are there, you know, kids are migrating to different things. I get it, you know, but to me, and this is a whole different tangent, and should probably save this for another video, but I'll just talk about it for a little bit. To me, it's silly to expect our kids to have the same hobbies that we did because I didn't have the same hobbies that my dad had. And to blame it on technology and video games and whatever you want to blame it on is just silly. You're not being honest with yourself, you know, and to expect different generations, it's not dying. No, exactly right. It's not dying. It's just different. You're exactly right. And, you know, you've got the 3D printing part of it now is huge, where people are designing their own parts and their own upgrade stuff and whatnot and printing them at home. You know, things like that. Decals, you can print your own decals fairly inexpensively. The vinyl cutter things that people are using to do their own markings. That's really the next thing that I want to get is a vinyl cutter. I don't know if I ever will, but it's on my Santa list, I guess. You know, there's all these different things, and you know, it's not. Well, I guess I said it before. It's silly to expect your kids to have the same hobbies that you have. Model building isn't like fishing. You know, you go out and go fishing, or go out and go hunting, or something like that. That's one thing. Or go build a car. You know, you got a project car that you're working on or whatever. That's more like the model building stuff. But that's even a little different because usually kids are building cars so that they can have a cool car. Right? They're not doing it necessarily because it's fun, because they're looking forward to having something at the end of it. So yeah. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at on the stash thing. But you know, like I said, I'm really interested in what everybody's intentions are with their stash and why they have it and where your threshold is. I try to keep mine at 100. I obviously haven't been very successful. I was down to like 80 at one point, but now I'm back up to 100. And with the ones that are started at 100, probably 130. So anyway, yeah, so that's about it for now. We'll talk about whether the hobby's dying or not at a different time. We'll save that for a future episode. So as far as the schedule goes, I don't know whether I'll be able to do the Sunday lives anymore. I know I'm working this Sunday. I don't know how many Sundays a month I'm going to end up working. So I may just kick out some random lives like I'm doing right now at just random times. Obviously, they get shown up anyway. And yeah, we'll just do it that way and see how it works. Right? Right. That sounds good. So, hey, as usual, take care of the people you love, and we will see you next time. Have a great night. Or day, wherever you are. How uncool of me not to think of everybody. How do I turn this thing off? I never know there's two parts to this. I never know which one to turn off first. All right, have a good